Another work day done. Another work week done. And that means another episode of Severance is out. Fridays are now becoming my favorite day of the week. So many amazing Apple TV shows come out on Fridays, and it's so exciting. I love this show so much. This show is so perfectly balancing the absolutely horrific side of the show, like this episode starting with an attempted suicide, harrowing, heartbreaking, devastating, but then almost immediately goes into a montage while he's reading the book and having absolutely absurd, hilarious lines of dialogue. This show is so good at being absolutely absurd and hilarious and offbeat comedy and just so weird, but then also just being utterly chilling. It's able to do it at like the same time as well, which is just blowing my mind. Sometimes I find shows like this can kind of either teeter one side or the other, where the comedy's not really working because it's just too harrowing, or the scary stuff really isn't that scary because I'm just laughing too much and the whole thing is so kind of funny and silly, you know, that I'm not able to kind of be stuck in this world, this horrible universe they've created. But this show is like, just, it's so good. I am finding it so unpleasant to live in this workplace world. Like the idea of Mark crying and tearing up and being so afraid that Helly might be dead, and then just seeing his face morph and change in the elevator, to then just morphing back and being horrified and the door's opening and another day has gone. It is so well kind of crafted and put together. Every single episode they do like a new thing where I'm just kind of like blown away by like the art direction or the stylistic decisions. In this episode, rather than always seeing these big, long, endless halls that are always just white, plain, boring, just white halls, this time we get these really, really atmospheric, moody scenes where they're going through, and it's almost like they're driving at night in fog where they can't see in front of them and the lights are only illuminating as they walk, so behind them disappears into darkness and the area in front of them is almost impossible to see until they're right up there. And I found that such a great way to have them kind of wandering through, trapped in this maze, as they are now trying to put back together Petey's maze. And I just found it such a great visual representation of how trapped and isolated and alone they are. They have no idea how many departments there are. They don't even know what they're doing. Them kind of being like, maybe the numbers are to do with the sheep and we're deciding if the sheep get killed. What's with the little baby lambs? Hearing that baby lamb cry and scream, it was so unnerving. At first I was just like, is that even what a baby lamb sounds like? But then they didn't really kind of comment on it later. They were just kind of like, what's with the lambs? Do we kill those lambs? Is that what we're doing with the numbers? Like, what are we doing there? So I have to presume that's what a baby lamb sounds like when he's screaming. But oh my God, it was so chilling. At first I was like, is that like a human screaming, but coming out of a lamb? But I think I was overreading that. I'm not from the farmlands. I haven't really hung around with baby sheep or lambs or whatever you call them that much. And oh my God, what is the deal with all that black slime, sludgy stuff? Just so cool seeing it drip and rain and then it's coming out of Mark's eye and just consuming the room. Just so visually interesting and crazy. Just so fascinated to what that is. Is that the severance kind of leaking through his brain and ruining his brain? Is that him sliding back into remembering his like outside life? Is that some kind of malfunction? Or is it just him completely losing his mind because sitting down at that office job on that computer looking at those numbers all day has just made him go crazy? Because Petey, I don't think was seeing any kind of black sludge, and it just seems to be Irving at this point. So I'm really fascinated and curious as to what that is. I'd love to hear people's theories on what the black slimy sludge is, because it's just, I don't know, it's a great visual, but I'm kind of curious and I'm not really sure what exactly it is representing right now or what it means for the character. It's just such a cool look. I am absolutely loving the department rivalry between Christopher Walken's and the main group's departments. It is so funny. It is so over the top and ridiculous. It's such a great way to kind of play with the idea of departments kind of disliking each other and that kind of workplace office kind of thing that can happen sometimes. But it is so bizarre and so absurd and so hilarious. Christopher Walken talking about how they've got like a joke and he's so shy, and just him and John Turturro's little budding romance is just the best part of the show so far. It's just such an utter delight. Their chemistry is so great. They're kind of like will they, won't they vibes is just, I'm just loving it so much. They are so smitten with each other. It's just so fun to watch. And him talking about that joke they have about the pouches and they've got lava hiding in there, and just absurd. It's like so funny and ridiculous. But then, like, when you see those pictures, those paintings, those beautifully, like, made paintings, but of this horrible, gothic, kind of almost biblical, religious-looking painting where they're all stabbing and mutilating and ripping each other up. But then you've got their their little like cards, their little work badges. It's so bizarre and weird. I couldn't kind of help but feeling like quite upset and unnerved by it all. Like, even though they're joking about their ridiculous things and the idea that one of them kind of had a bloody coup and they murdered everyone, at first seemed just like this absurd joke that one guy's taking way too seriously, even though it totally mustn't have happened. But now I'm kind of like, oh god, maybe it did happen. Maybe stuff like that happens all the time. What is happening here at Lumen? It's just so upsetting and weird. The vibe of the show is just so like, like at the end, when Christopher Walken's like, I want to show you something. And you're like, oh, this is cute. They're back, they're friends again. Like, you know, that's nice. They're, you know, they're not going to kind of hate each other for the lie he told last episode and all that kind of stuff. And then just as he introduces them, the way the music kind of builds up and the way they all just kind of look at them and just the mood and the feeling when the episode ends, I was just like, oh, I don't know if they're all going to smile and say hello and it's going to be a little quirky scene where they're like, hey, or they're all going to turn and run at them and just stab them to death. Like, I had no idea how to feel. The tone was so off-putting and weird and just, I don't know. I'm loving how this show is presenting everything. It's just really, really funny, but also just so upsetting. The book Mark is reading, I find a really good kind of encapsulation of everything that's working for the show. Like, on one hand, as he's reading it, there's these really great, like, kind of words of wisdom and self-help and motivation. But then there's just, like, the next line is just completely absurd and hilarious and just so silly and dumb, and I loved it so much. Particularly the line where he's like, bullies are just bull and lies. Amazing! Amazing! I've never heard that before. Absolutely hilarious. Loved it so much. That book is just everything about how this show is working so well, and they're presenting it to us in this really interesting montage where it's not just him waking up and it's like, we've seen a million times someone wake up to work and kind of go through the routine of every day's the same, but 9 to 5, oh no. But the way that was presented with the text going over the screen and everything just kind of blending in, it was just really interesting and nice. I really, really liked that scene. Fantastic stuff. We haven't really been getting much of Mark on the outside world. I like what we got this episode. That brother-in-law character is very, very funny. His weird quirks and stuff when they're putting up all the weird stuff in the room. Just everything he says is just so bizarre. He's such an interesting, odd character. I really like him, but we're not really kind of moving the plot along kind of the way I thought we would be. I am a little bit disappointed that we're not getting any other characters in the outside world yet, like, because I really want to see what Helly's like. Just those little glimpses are so kind of interesting and terrifying. Like, why does she hate her work self so much? Like, I don't know. I really want to kind of have those answers, but maybe they are saving them for later in the season as big reveals. I really want to see Irving in the real world. I want to see what he's like. I don't know, I have so many questions and thoughts about them because we know them so well now in their workplace, so I think it'd be really interesting to show that. And it is really fun seeing Adam Scott kind of dual role two different characters and kind of thinking and being like, oh, they're gonna blend and become one at one point, and like how they, you know, differentiate. And so I really want to see that with the other actors, especially John Turturro. He's just such a delight. He kind of steals the show. He's so amazing, and having just seen him in the Batman, it's really great seeing him play such a different role. He's just such a good actor. After Helly survives her suicide attempt, when she gets watched and just kind of looked at by like the company, they just put a company lady on her, like their wellness lady, and she's just kind of watching her, and just the way she's so emotionless while trying to be there and support her, and just the way that felt and played out feels really true to work culture. The way that, you know, it's Motivation Monday, you know, and like having posters up everywhere and be like, if you're feeling down, just ask a friend. You can speak to your manager, but it comes across so cold and calculated and, you know, like a business decision to make it appear like they care, but of course they don't care. If you, like, so many big companies like this, like the place I work, if you died and didn't go into work, as soon as they found a replacement, they would forget that happened. Like, it's just so heartless and soulless. And the way they try and breathe life and fake life into it is so kind of like true. And the way this show does it, by having characters literally just stand there, and the way she so coldly says, I can give you a hug, I found that so upsetting and chilling. And it, like, I don't know, like, part of me was like, oh, I think maybe they'd kind of go for a humor here, but I just found her character so upsetting and so off and just so true to how like a big corporation like that works. Really well done, but just, yeah, super upsetting. And just the whole Helly situation, the idea that she tries to kill herself but she's still trapped there at work, just harrowing stuff. Really, really, really intense. She's just giving such a great performance. Her kind of like defeated feeling, and then that little spark of hope at the end of the episode where she's like, I'll draw the map. I'll draw because your maps are terrible. You're a terrible drawer. So there's a little bit of spark of life back in her. And so that's great. I kind of really can't wait for her and Mark to team up and, take down Lumen. I imagine that's going to fail horrifically, but I really want to see all that kind of play out. I'm still super interested in whether Lumen is truly like evil or if what they're doing has a purpose. And I don't know, this episode kind of didn't really flesh out or kind of give us any more answers, really just more questions and more little baby lambs, which raise a million questions for me. I have no idea why they're there, super confusing. I really want to see more departments. Like, at first I was like, I don't know if there's any other departments, but now it appears there's maybe heaps and heaps of departments. I mean, that building is huge. Those big wide shots outside with the snow and the building and the car park, gorgeous. Some incredible wide shots, just absolutely stunning. We really didn't get anything in the outside world except for at this birthing retreat, and that was a bit of fun, but I was kind of confused as to why we focused on like this rich lady, this other rich pregnant lady in this big cabin. I kind of thought when she was going over there, I'm like, okay, this will be one of the characters from the show inside the place that we've seen. But it wasn't, it was just some random. So I'm wondering if we're going to see her later or what the deal with that was. Just kind of felt like it was like setting something up that didn't pay off or something. I don't know, maybe I missed something there, but I was kind of hoping to see, I don't know, more to kind of explain a little bit more. But of course that's me just being greedy and just wanting the answers now because I'm just so invested in the mystery of it all. But of course there's more episodes to go, so I gotta be patient, which I am not. Someone in the comments of my last episode made the really, really great suggestion that this whole show is kind of an allegory for addiction and alcoholism and all that kind of stuff. And I was watching this episode with kind of that in mind as well, and it's absolutely accurate. Like the scenes where she's at the birthing place and they're sending message after message after message, and he's like, oh, I only got my phone on when I got out of work. Kind of really made me feel like he's like, yeah, he's gone on a big bender and he's just checked his phone as he's kind of sobered up. And I don't know, just kind of seeing the show in that lens, in the way that like he's blacking out so much of his life, truly terrifying, and just kind of an extra little wrinkle to add on top of all the 9-to-5 corporate capitalism metaphors and all that stuff that's really kind of on the surface, but like all the themes kind of underneath it all. Yeah, just really, really fascinating, interesting show. Really, I don't know, it really makes me question sometimes. I'm just sitting at work just being like, oh, I just want this day to end, and I'm like, oh, god damn it, Severance. Oh, it's just so painfully accurate of a representation of that kind of dull, like, soul-crushing feeling you can feel at work. At times, sometimes I love being at work, but it's just this show really kind of emphasizes and focuses on the negative sides. So now I'm just thinking about this show often. It just makes me kind of, I don't know, realize and think about it in like this just really intense way. It's just a powerful show. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below. I'd love to know what everyone thinks of this episode and the show in general.